that first draft as we do figure out where these teams land. A lot of roster changes between both of these teams across the entirety of just summer, not just even the year, it's the entirety of this split. It's been a lot of short-term changes. So, Iwandi, Geju coming in for RNG. They also brought in Juice earlier in the split. OMG, Harry's playing, Starry, Tianzhen now coming in for his first series with the team too, as we get through into the bans.
Some very specific bans there into the jungle. Graves, of course, been buffed recently, but the Lilia and the Brand off the table as well. Hugely trying to make Geju's life a little bit harder, and of course, we know Tianzhen has a little bit more in the tank in terms of some of those champions available to them. On the other side, Tristana, Rumble, Vi, all very high prior picks again.
So we have two junglers who are like new onto their rosters, and immediately we get like 4 jungle bans first round ban. You can really tell where we're trying to focus. So Geju, solo queue prodigy. The fact that he gets all of these farming junglers away from him does remove some options. PP got onto his Leona, big comfort pick. We've kind of skipped over stuff like the Tristana Corki. Tristana's banned, but the other AD mid lane is still valuable.
Yeah, and it does feel like there's been some discussion in backrooms about what to do about mid lane. How are we dealing with the Corki? How are we dealing with the Tristana? Are we happy to give them up, yes or no? Because they have been just on a level above nearly every other option in terms of their utility. Thinking about perhaps an AD carry option here at OMG, but we'll wait on it for a second or two. I do note that Misfortune Hover, it has suddenly started turning up here and there again, but they do decide to go towards the LeBlanc, which I do like at the minute.
Yeah, and Tanyuan has been struggling. The fact that Angel can get onto the LeBlanc, which is a lane bully, and potentially help mitigate some of the pressure in topside could be really, really helpful. If LeBlanc ends up winning lane and gets to go towards topside, maybe that stops the Renex and Sejuani, which of course is the answer which RNG have come up to with so many jungle bans coming through, maybe helps them out.
They're debating a Corki in response again. We've said how powerful that champion is. Of course, the LeBlanc able to potentially threaten, especially before something like a Hex Drinker comes through if the Corki feels forced into it. But locked in nonetheless. I'm not surprised to see it. We did also see Starry go towards the Ezreal. Ezreal Leona has become a pretty common lane as of late. Allows you to let the Leona roam because the Ezreal's pretty safe and you can be pretty good in team fights.
Also, what you can do is you can pretty much guarantee your passive gets procced as soon as you're first going in. We saw it from JDG, where you just, level 1, throw the Zenith Blade and a Q at a target, and if they both end up hitting, you get the Sunlight passive proccing onto them, which is really good level 1 damage.
Yeah.
So Missing and Ruler had a good game with that one.
I wonder what the synergy there was. I heard it was good, but I couldn't remember how it functioned.
Yeah, so getting yourself through to those second round of bans. No magic damage on the side of RNG right now, and they need to get that out of the bot lane. We're also expecting both the Ziggs and then the Kai'Sa to be removed, and then suddenly they'll have to be playing into a Leona plus probably something tankier towards the top side with no magic damage, which can be a problem.
Yeah, it can be pretty dicey, that's for sure. You've already got the synergy there for Juice and Geju, which is nice. Makes Geju's life a lot easier too in terms of, well, I can go to multiple lanes and have something to work with. Looking at Huanfeng debating a Zeri here. We'll wait on, of course, that champion has become increasingly potent. So Zeus look towards using it as a top lane option as well. I doubt we'll see that here right now. And of course, Huanfeng well and truly comfortable on the champion should they decide to go towards it.
Yeah, so problem is, it is still, again, you've got double AD carries, you have really good damage at killing the front line, but the problem is that they do have this full AD composition, so that damage is typically very good, but what happens if they fully into armor stackers? It can be quite difficult. Tianzhen, of course, Rengar one trick. He locks it in. First game for OMG, and he pulls out the one trick. Now, he has played this in the LPL before. He is the only player in major regions right now playing the Rengar. Very practiced pick for him, so buckle up. We get to see some cat shenanigans.
And of course, part of what made Tianzhen really good in LDL level, so down the tier, was the fact that his support was really aggressive with him. You'd have someone like, it wasn't Niket at the time, that was over on Top Esports Academy, but it was on IG when their bot lane was incredibly dominant in and of itself, so he would have a support come and roam into the jungle with him, make things happen. And you've got a Leona from PP God of all people, who's known for being a bit of a psycho himself. You've got the LeBlanc from Angel. That trio gets unlocked and off vision. Yeah. Double AD Curry comp could really suffer. I appreciate the fact in the team fights it's hard with all the front line there, but before you get that, if the skirmishing starts happening, could get dicey for RNG in the early game.
They could do, which is why I think it's so important that they have this Renekton Sejuani. Renekton Sejuani doesn't really put up with your BS when you jump towards them. So if RNG get to snowball the Renekton in the way that we saw Arlo manage it the day before, the way that we've seen Breeze do it, 369, I think that RNG's composition comes together a little bit more. It is really, really hard for RNG to play. If OMG get good items, I think that, you know, they're going to have some issues on side lanes. I think it's really hard for them to split. They do have 2 mobile AD carries, but will that be enough to escape the Leona and that Rengar? As you said, that roaming combo. These are 2 very different compositions. You've got double AD carries trying to put out consistent DPS versus 2 carries which are much more mobile and looking towards the skirmishes instead. I love the fact that both these teams have gone towards something completely opposite, try to just find themselves an identity. These 2 teams have struggled. They have had many roster swaps, and coming into their first series for OMG and their second for RNG, they really want to find something which can set the course for this Nirvana group stage.
And not to put too fine a point on it, they've definitely got an identity for both rosters in this game. That is looking really fun to see. There's the skins. I am very excited to see Tianjin come back to the LPL stage, lock in the one trick, come in with some confidence, and try and make it happen.
And Angel is using Faker's LeBlanc skin as well. So we get ourselves it's the Risen Legend, I think, or whatever it is. It's one of the Hall of Legends ones for Faker's LeBlanc. I don't know whether we've seen this elsewhere, probably somewhere, but it's the first time I'm seeing it, at least. And see whether Angel can live up to that most hallowed of LeBlanc players.
It's the Predator-looking skin for Tianjin as well. Not sure we got an alien on the other side. Maybe Kha'Zix needs an alien skin to match against that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, the thing is, he has the base skin, which is what it's meant to be. So the whole thing is that Rengar Kha'Zix already was that. We got the Jaws coming through yet?
Just started ringing out. They were very aggressively coming on in. Tang Yuan though, that's being a scary spot. Valkyrie level 1 forced.
Well, it's better to blow that Valkyrie rather than die or flash.
Yeah.
We saw the other day, I'm trying to remember who it was, but we saw a Corki level up Q for a trade, and then someone comes out of the bush and he's like, I am now in a really bad spot. Getting ourselves big wards into that top side. Tianjin trying to stack up his passive. Don't see what he's leveled up so far, but can't end up sticking around. You do not want to be facing up against a level 1 Rengar like that. One of the weird things here for RNG, though, is that they've ended up putting double wards down. That could be really important. And both of those wards were seen importantly. So RNG, they have no wards on their top 2 side members, and that does mean that OMG will have a little bit more vision safety to play around later in the game, and maybe that allows Tianjin to get into a lane a little easier or somewhat unexpected. Geju, Tianjin both clearing top to bot as it stands.
Well, interesting start there, and I appreciate the fact that both teams have come in with a bit of a level 1 idea about what to do. Some good thought processes from both, and of course Angel, level 1 will be able to potentially get a little bit more out of Tang Yuan with the fact he had to start the Valkyrie. You can maybe start to be a bit aggressive, engage. You're already with the wards down here trying to be obnoxious.
Well, no, Tianjin hasn't got smite. He's going to get it smoked away.
Already the level 1 invade comes on through. The Permafrost stacking will have the... I don't know whether he's actually got the W, does Tianjin. Trying to make this happen. He's going to trade out here a little bit. There's the W. Gets to stay alive.
Tianjin using that fleet footwork for the mobility to get out of that fight. But Geju goes into the enemy jungle, and though OMG saw that both wards were down there, knew that Geju was looking to get in there, can't defend the second camp, Tianjin blew that smite on the first camp, didn't have it available for the second one. I'm surprised that they didn't put a single defensive ward down on that top side jungle, knowing that the Sejuani can have some early clear, or like early threat, I suppose. So Tianjin gets a camp taken away from him, lucky not to lose his life or blow the flash. Going back to the replay here, we see that he just used the smite on the first camp, and that was seen on the wards, which were put down before. So quite greedy there from Tianjin.
Does end up losing that camp. It's only the Gromp, of course. Could be worse, but it's still problematic. Didn't decide to go back and buy anything, by the way. Is just kept that gold inventory still just on the Gust Walker starting item, your Pokemon egg of sorts.
Yeah. Took too much damage. The thing is, Rengar doesn't really have the healthiest clear if you're interrupted. Not like a lot of the farming junglers that we see right now. But still, Tianjin can be set behind just a little bit, and he's going to have to prove his comfort on this champion to see what he can do when he's not in a prime position. I think many people can play weirder champions if they're ahead of the game. When you're playing them slightly behind the game, that's when it gets a little bit more difficult. We do see both these junglers on the bot side of the map. Scuttle Crab has spawned. Tianjin use the vision plant to spot out that pink ward. We'll have that, and we'll also have bot side lane push to make sure that he has PP God and Starry on call.
You can see the Sejuani looking to do a bit of a reverse clear as, well, could end up losing both Scuttle Crabs for this. And actually, you can see Tianjin going in to put down a ward, and Geju very sensibly trying to stay away from this Rengar, who might otherwise go for something like this. Very aggressive for a bit of a chunk on I1D a couple times. Does have, of course, the Battle Roar to undo some of that damage.
He's just hopping around using the passive. Shove him. That's how Juice gets jumped back again.
Juice has to flash. Gets flashed on himself. A big clap to the face. And even an empowered Q will not keep him alive.
Oh, and the Juice has been juiced. The Renekton. This pick needs to get ahead of the game and has been immediately shut down by Harry, the top laner, which came in as a replacement for OMG coming into summer. Juice, he ends up getting bopped into tower not once, but twice. That's the only way you die against this K'Sante. That's a horrible mistake from him. And now Harry is ahead of the game.
Fight. Needs to be careful here. This Geju will likely go over towards the Rengar this time. Couldn't quite get the passive off to combo up with the smite, and this time the Gromp still goes wrong.
Jeez, so Harry gets himself some really important kill towards that top, so comes back with a Sheen as well, because he knows that he can now genuinely trade back. Now, this was something I was going to mention. RNG, we talked about this at the end of draft, and I want to talk about this again now. Renekton is a champion which needs to be ahead of the game. If you are picking this champion, you need to be able to justify that pick. He goes way too far, he goes beyond K'Sante's character model, gets W'd back, gets Q3'd back, dies pretty much because of the tower shots beyond that point. The fact that Juice is dying here does not really help us in regards to seeing whether he has justified this pick.
I do wonder whether that was an attempt to really hard shove the wave, because Geju was coming and we're looking to try and dive that, and it goes horribly wrong because he is too aggressive shoving the wave.
Well, I mean, it's just a raw mechanical mistake. You don't go beyond the K'Sante, so you get a free W to push you back. So at that point, it's like, yes, the thought process is whatever. It doesn't matter what the thought process is when you put yourself into that position.
That badly.
So like, I sat there like, look, buddy, I don't care what you're thinking. That's not how you do it. Yeah.
The thinking was one thing, the hands was another.
God, it reminds me of, God, a bit of a tangent. There was a, there's a lot of football happening in Europe right now.
There is, yeah.
And England played a penalty shootout recently, which has typically not been our favourite thing. But apparently the secret solution is to get a lot of players which just don't think. It's like, oh, I can't get worried if I don't think.
Yes.
Anyway, got Grubs on top side. Smite for the first one. PP going forwards. Double Zenith Blade.
What we're going to be thinking about here is a little bit of early violence. Good lord, the damage from the empowered Savage forces Geju very low over the wall again! Tianjin gets a kill, and now he gets to start battle roaring his way towards some damage. The damage back there was good. Flash forward, gets onto the jungler, and now the damage onto Tangu, and also really low! We'll make it another 1-for-1. Oh my days, down goes K'Sante as well as Juice gets over, and it's an absolute mess. And over here is Angel trying to get something onto I1D. Juice very low. Empowered Q, though, would be difficult to jump forwards onto.
And OMG, they had that lead on top side, but they're still fighting into early game Sejuani, Renekton, Braum. You don't want to be going melee range of that. I think that Tianjin, his mechanics there were pretty good to make sure he doesn't get Braum stunned up. He gets himself that kill, but they're still over-engaging into this Renekton, which we'll see on the top side, and this Braum Sejuani, which is a really disgusting combo. Sure, you're jumping onto the first target. There were Braum Sejuani. They get themselves a kill, but look how much they've ended up using. Use all of their mobility going forward, and suddenly Tanyu and I1D can have genuine threat. The Valkyrie damage also not something you can sniff at this point. While all this is happening, Harry, yes, won the last 1v1, doesn't have 2 turret shots this time to help him out.
So Juice wins that 1v1, and then the fracas between mid laners and junglers and supports goes one way or the other. Still not the end of the world here. The Grubs didn't really get taken till just now, so it'll be a 1-for-2 trade in those. And that'll be the end of that. Tianjin will head over towards the dragon and look to take that one for himself.
So who are the big winners here? RNG gets 2 Grubs, which does mean that stops Angel having sideline pressure, which LeBlanc likes to have. Geju might just have overstepped. Hit Shane. Doesn't hit those. Geju does save his Arctic Assault to get out. Dragon on the bot side started, and that should be taken fairly easily on the bot side. So, slight Grub advantage to RNG, Dragon advantage over to RNG. Gold is just about even. I think importantly, it's even between the top laners still. The fact that the K'Sante is even with the Renekton means that the K'Sante will just be more useful than the Renekton later on into the game.
Tianjin was spotted going into the jungle here. His control ward didn't go around the banana bush, so to spot out that ward down there, and it's not a known quantity. It's just hit level 6, but he doesn't want to have to burn it here. In a tricky position here, we'll still jump forward onto Geju, takes some damage back. Angel looking to get a chunk onto the Sejuani. The door comes up from Braum. Massive ultimate, though, from Starry. brings down the Sejuani the pig, is roasted. Thrill of the Hunt has been popped. Tianchen goes down, but it will still be the 2-for-1 overall.
Yeah, the Corki damage pack is pretty absurd, but Tianchen goes in and says, my life for yours, I'll take that trade. I do really like how Tianchen's been playing this out, using that empowered W, the Battle Rod, to make sure that the Sejuani Braum doesn't just CC him up in the front line. Still isn't as tanky as he quite needs to be to last out the fights, but I'm liking at least that part of it, to stop RNG's early game CC being quite as dominant as it could have been before that point.
I'll also note now at 2-2-2, getting a lot of those passive stacks. That's always scary for a Rengar early.
Yeah, so he's spotted on this ward here. He knows that one ward is... Oh, no, they know that people's
exactly.
there. But then the geometry means that, yes, the ward doesn't spot that. Tianchen still has level 6, though, and he still has lanes which can move over towards here. And as you said, the passive stacks are already there in regards to the Bluntooth Necklace. It definitely helps him with some of these skirmishes. And the fact that he's saving this empowered W to make sure that the initial play doesn't just completely shred him is one thing. It is still really hard going into early game Corki damage, but that's the kind of playstyle which we want to see more. I wonder if he'll go towards something a bit more tanky later on to help with that.
We'll see what the decision making is. Understandably going towards some cooldown reduction early with the Caulfield Warhammer. Sejuani, Rengar. He just went for the two other champions who are entirely not Rengar to get through some of those ability procs. Really valuable. So nice option there. All the while, Geju continuing to try and be a little bit obnoxious on these invades. Hasn't really succeeded after those early levels as freely, and hopping between the ward and the buff there is Tianchen very happily. Takes his red buff.
Yeah, every time you do that leap, it gives you a stack of your passives, your ferocity, I think it is. Look, there's so many rage-like resources, it's really hard to keep track of them, because I think, Renekton has Fury?
It's Fury, yeah.
Fury, you have Tryndamere, which has Rage. You have Ferocity. I can't even remember what Gnar has. Look, they all have something like this, and it's really quite hard to track all of it.
He's Rage. I think...
Are they all Rage? Maybe there is. Maybe it's just the Streets of Rage here,
Maybe
Sam.
it is. I need to go look it up again. It's been a while. Ooh, another under turret. Oh, Juice. Got to be really careful. Flash for a bit more. Juice will now ult himself and try to turn this one back. And actually, he's doing a really good job. Despite taking the turret shot, is forced to flash and trade.
Yeah, Harry just making sure that he can get continually into melee range of their Renekton afterwards, and tries to make sure that Juice doesn't have a good empowered Q and empowered W combo. Juice not winning out the matchup the way he should be. The fact that they are trading flash for flash and ult for ult, and it's, Juice that's coming out just about the worst away from it, again, is still good for OMG, because when we get through into team fights later, the Renekton is going to struggle. The K'Sante will thrive as a full armor K'Sante versus a full physical damage team. So that's completely fine for OMG and for Harry. This is a good moment for him, I think, because this is a player which has struggled. He has been okay, but I think he's been at kind of like just at the bottom end of LPL for quite a long time now. The fact that he can have games like this and make sure that he can just stand up to like newer entries into the LPL top lane talent pool is an important showing for him to say, yes, I am actually still LPL caliber.
First item starting to get completed. I'll note the Sundered Sky and, of course, the Luden's Companion for the Rengar and the LeBlanc will be looking to blow someone up. But it's an Eclipse build on the Renekton. We've got ourselves the Zeeks on the Sejuani as well. So some upfront burst, not bad from RNG either. They will be teleporting in for this play.
Okay, so that's the flank. Tianchen, where does he go to?
Has popped the ultimate, looking to maybe find an angle. Will use it on a ward, looking to escape here. The Sejuani ultimate goes wide. Big ult instead from the Ezreal, going to get something. Renekton dead already. Eclipse is down to the Solar Flare on the other side. Sunlight just too powerful. Tangyuan caught out by mid-4, and Tianchen not taken out on the other side of it. It's a win for OMG.
Oh, Tianchen flashes forward for the root from the bowlers. Tianchen getting himself more and more involved in these early plays. And, we were wondering, okay, why was Tianchen coming into this roster? Xiaofang looked pretty good when it came to LDL talent in terms of the newer junglers. Now with OMG walking away from one skirmishes through picks like this, Rengar is working out really, really nicely for them. 4 grubs. They get themselves some good gold in pocket. Everyone ahead apart from, the support matchup, which I'm sorry, supports. It's not that important unless you've got a center in your lane. And also you have OMG being able to get access to these turrets too. This is exactly what they wanted.
It is fantastic work here, that is for sure. OMG, up a lot of gold now, that 3,500 gold. And you know where a lot of it is? In the jungle, on the Rengar, on the Ezreal for Starry. 2 characters that are going to be really obnoxious because we've seen what Ezreals can do in this current meta when they're given the ability to play out those extended fights in particular. Really, really frustrating. You've got a LeBlanc at 304. You've got a Rengar now who's got 7 stacks on that passive. We'll see from the replay here. they play this one out actually really smartly.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is still a 4v5 for the grand majority of this, but Harry is already really strong. Full armor, K'Sante. Angel sticks around to make sure he gets the empowered E, pretty much, the extended range beyond that point. And the fact that they've thrown so many ultimates in now of RNG means that RNG are happy to take a 4v5. They take this against the numbers advantage. Tianjin flashes forwards even for again a 4v5. Ezreal commits an ult and that's it. RNG lose with a numbers advantage.
I don't think it's going to get that much easier from this point. This is the point in the game where OMG's comp really comes alive if they've started to snowball. The LeBlanc, the Rengar are going to be at the heights of their power. An item and a half completed. Once they get 2 on this kind of scale, it gets really tricky to stay alive, especially if, say this Sejuani, this Braum are trying to stun up the Rengar. He just presses W if he's timing it right at this point in the game. You're not getting through to a second stack of those passives.
Yeah, so I wonder whether Tianjin is just going to continue to get tankier and tankier. Again, it is a full physical damage team from RNG. We have seen tank Rengar builds in the past. He's getting a fair amount of HP, and he has the steel caps as well, so he's going to be relatively tanky. If he goes towards a Black Cleaver for both Harry and for Starry as well, I think it could potentially be a pretty nice bruiser build for him. I wonder whether he could even go tankier than that though, to say like you are full physical damage, try getting through multiple tanks.
Oh yeah, it could get really obnoxious, especially because the damage is kind of already there in some ways. Is quite happy to get the additional stuff from the passive, and Juice not quite put into the juicer, will be allowed to remain as an orange for a little bit longer.
Yeah, so that's going to be Juice forced back from his tower. Harry, much harder to really force him away from tower on the bot side. The fact that RNG have objective bounties already is a bit of a pain. Iwandi blocks out that Ezreal ultimate, uses that shield under tower, but again, they're still having to watch this wave clear happen towards there. You've got Grubs on the top side as well. Angel gets full gold towards that. One of the things when we see Tristana, LeBlanc in side lanes is that it is just really, really powerful getting these Grubs. I think that LPL on the whole kind of struggled with switching towards Grubs. This is kind of how you do it. Diving Xante is not how you do it, really.
Passive isn't bad and hasn't been able to use the W until very, very late on. So actually, remember, not that tanky do he gets to do that flash forward for BBGod to get the empowered auto. And will manage to bring down the Renekton pretty cleanly there. Shield of Daybreak doing a lot of work.
So that's going to be 4 Grubs used on an inner turret. I will say I think Harry ends up just misplaying towards the bot side. Doesn't pull out the W flash or the ult soon enough and goes down. I really felt like there was a chance to outplay, but RNG, all the same, they do get themselves that 1-for-1 trade, but they are losing 2 turrets instead of rather than just taking the one themselves. So OMG win out in the overall trade.
This is steel caps and an eclipse on the Renekton. There's no tenacity. There's no real resist against magic damage either. And I understand why he's done it into the matchup that he has, but it means when Leona and LeBlanc are the two jumping you, you've got no way to stay alive unless you press R in time.
You need to be playing aggressively with this build, which is really hard to do so. So Juice has had some really good laning performances in LPL so far. This has not been their best showing as it stands, and as we were saying a little bit earlier, if you are picking Renekton, you must smash lane, you must snowball that advantage. The fact that this hasn't worked out, Juice, I'm starting to just move my hand over to the Renekton pass to drag it away, because this hasn't been a great game so far.
You have been denied entrance onto the train of Renekton. I'm sorry, you don't get to ride that particular public transport. Not allowed anymore. Sorry.
Denied. A light at the next station. So Herald now on bot side again. Herald not even being used for mid turret. We've got this trade again around turrets. But once again, RNG.
Afterwards.
Exactly. RNG. They're going to get themselves another 1-for-2 turret trade. I mean, you're not going to be able to stop this on the other side. Juice cannot stand here under turret. There's a chance that he dies too. BBGod has ult. Juice has to back off and watch the tower fall.
That's just OMG being very happy. It's like, well, okay, we'll take the 2-for-1. I get that RNG feel like they have to trade rather than get nothing, but it's still not feeling pretty as Tianjin rides the Herald in towards the Wolf Cap to try to steal them away. He's going to go towards the bush there to get the extended range. That feels really good. Tier 1 in mid lane falls at the same time. OMG coming out well and truly ahead in terms of the macro game there.
Could have maybe ridden that Herald around the back end of the mid lane, and you could have maybe got that charge through there. That would be a one-way mission, I would imagine. It would be a flash rolled out. So you can understand why he just doesn't want to
Fair, yeah.
like completely going towards that. Okay, so OMG, huge gold advantage. A lot of that is in that jungle matchup. Tianjin will probably go in towards Black Cleaver for his next recall. Dragon up in 20 seconds. RNG, you're not really set up for this, and you've just given up your bot lane inner turret and your mid lane outer turret. So RNG, they've given up a lot of their structures around the dragon. It's really hard for them to contest now.
That's such a scary place to be. It's a 2.5 item LeBlanc. Tangyun was waiting over the wall there, but I don't think there would have been that much to be done if some CC had landed. Still, though, it's a chunk onto the Zeri, who has forced to back away. The wave is shoved into the tier 2. And it means getting into this river to stop Soul Point is going to be such a nightmare.
Well, what's the HP at right now? It's in Fog of War. Starry's not on it, so it might not even be going down. No, Tianjin's soloing it. That's fine. He doesn't take it that quickly, but he does take it all the same. OMG, they can always use that Rengar ultimate to bring him back up to the play, use the increased movement speed if a fight does happen. OMG taking this quite slowly, though. I think this could be repped into a fight.
He just stepped on forward there with the Arctic Assault. Oh, the stopwatch to immune the ultimate. It's clean stuff from Angel, who is flying his way to a victory. In goes PP God. Juiced. It'll be a 1-for-1 as the Leona falls, but Gidju having a flashback on out needs to be a bit afraid. All the while, it's still going to be OMG with the slightly better health bars and better positioning around the river. So they'll all turn back towards the dragon, you have to imagine.
Yeah, with the Sejuani ult gone, so hard to go back in towards that fight. OMG a little bit slow on taking the dragon in terms of soloing it. It's not the cleanest, but hey, it's what they needed at the end of it. RNG, they're going to lose their wave towards mid lane too, so they can't even push in towards that. They are just losing on a macro sense right now. They lost both their top lane turrets, they lost both their bot lane turrets, and considering that OMG are a team which I thought were really struggling, perhaps one of the worst teams in the LPL. The fact that they can macro like that and make some big plays like this is really helping them get some extra stability and some more confidence, you have to imagine, here too. Angel, Tianjin jumping forward. Yes, PP God does end up dying at the start of it, but with that, as you said, the amount of HP bar advantage they get, they're more than happy to take the dragon after that point, and now they get to return to the side lanes.
Back to base, and there is that Black Cleaver you called out now on the Rengar. You saw that Rengar, not necessarily the fastest dragon, takes him the bush to work with, so he just stands there and autos slightly awkwardly for a bit. But still, the dragon went down. Nearly a third item for this LeBlanc as well, who did obviously burn the Seeker's passive, Seeker's active there to immune the Sejuani ult, and worthily done, don't get me wrong, but will not have it available until the Zhonya's can be fully completed.
Yeah, Rengar's dream of Ocean Rifts. They dream of Ocean Rifts, just the extra buffs. And also there's the bush in the Dragon Pit, which is really, really helpful for them. But hey, we can't have everything in life, sadly. I'm pretty sure they changed Infernal Rift because it affected so many champions like that, because, you know, so many champions need bushes for certain parts of the gameplay. Tianjin has his passive stacked up, but he's currently alone on top side. One of the great things about Rengar is you can just be this living ward. Your ult can be a really good position to do that as well. He's just stacking up, again, root after root. Look at the CC chain.
That's Black Cleaver passive as well. That Bronze always tank as you think it is Angel. And Harry coming on down, a flash away, and Huang Fang will wall right over the wall. Tianjin just deletes Braum. The door is cracked wide open. The jungler is dead as well. And Baron's alive.
Someone's not playing against Rengar in a while. RNG walk up and they get, what, triple bowlered? He's just sat there saying, look, I don't even need to assassinate you. I'm just going to CC you for as long as possible. RNG, they are going to get themselves this mid lane out of turret. Finally, I do think they're going to be straight up losing the Baron, though. And once again, RNG just caught a little bit behind on the map. And we'll see whether they also get caught out under this turret.
Harry just managed to get a chunk on Tangyun and Valkyrie over the wall. Juice pulled back, just about alive, but over comes the Rengar! Gets one! They're going to get some more damage as they get the kills. I apologize, I saw the kill feed. It was the Baron going down, but still, they get the damage as Angel is here to potentially clean up Zeri. So over the wall, can just about spot where Huang Fang is. I don't know when that lightning rush is available. Tianjin hunting as well. Braum alive, gets a slow with the passive, can still get jumped on flash. Auto gets the smite down a slow onto the Zeri, throwing out some burst fire, but really needs to go full auto, stay alive. Multiple hops. Tianjin knows how he can be. Does not have the W available, but he's so tanky. Finally throws the Balor out and will get away. Huang Fang alive, but the damage is done and they've not been able to reset or shove waves, and now there's a wave in bot lane and Baron empowered minions.
I don't even know where to start with that. Do we talk with, like, the buddy hopping? Do we start with the Cassante copy pasta? What happens here? Look, OMG, they get the Baron. They get themselves like a 1v3 and a 2v3 in the mid lane. They run away with everything. And of course, with this Baron buff now taken, with the Baron power play starting to rack up, RNG, they are likely going to either die during the duration of this Baron or around the dragon just afterwards. This has been a really strong skirmish style of play from OMG. And as we said again, probably RNG have not really played against the Rengar that much. Double empowered bowlers means that you get double roots coming through. Tianjin pops the ult as well, jumps forward for the extra empowered thing as well. Just look how many times Tianjin is just jumping forward, choosing that range really well to make sure he gets maximum value out of the ferocity abilities.
And you know how I know that Iwandi hasn't played against Rengar in a while there as well? He flashes after Rengar started jumping. You can't flash the auto damage. That's what that jump is. It's not an ability. It's just an auto, and you don't get to flash that. Oh, but Days Zawandi taken low. The Sejuani ultimate kind of does something, but it's not going to be enough value as Harry gets to step on forwards and club them to death with a couple of Tofos. Angel looking to go over the wall potentially, but they've lost another member. This inhibitor turret under siege in the bot lane. They jump in the mid lane, though. They do get Harry, so at least they get one back, but the inhibitor turret in a 1-for-1 is still a win for OMG overall.
Oh, it's absolutely a win. You can see that, RNG, they're still losing damage on turrets. It is consolation kills at the very best. Yeah, Harry does go down, but you have other tanks you have to get through. The Leona is tanky. Tianjin is goddamn tanky as well. 2 damn levels up on Geju on that Sejuani. Geju on this Sejuani had that one steal of a camp early and has just really, really struggled to leverage anything beyond that point. His ultimates haven't been that accurate, and the problem is he's into your Rengar, which can just shrug off his impact in a lot of these team fights. So sadly for Geju, he's come up against another one of our newer junglers in the LPL and come up wanting.
This time around, I think credit over to Angel as well, who's played a really clean LeBlanc game. You've got a Frozen Heart now on the Ezreal as well into the double AD carries. Like, even this Ezreal is surprisingly tanky at this point.
Yeah, it's Frozen Heart Ezreal. Yep, that's the thing. Remember back to the Death Stance Ezreal?
I do. Yes, I do.
Ezreal has always been this champion that can just randomly build tank items and be happy with it because, he's either happy with the mana, which feeds into his mana Mune, or it's just giving him cooldown reduction, which is really broken on Ezreal. Look, there's a lot of reasons why Ezreal ends up just abusing items over and over, but all the same, very happy to have Starry at this point apart. Makes it much harder to lose your carry.
Somewhere out there, Dragdar has been awakened at the talk of Ezreal item builds.
Yeah, we unlock that casket every so often. This will be Mountain Soul, RNG. They didn't get themselves an approach. You have every ultimate available for RNG, and this is probably going to be the end of the game.
Double AD carry into all this tank, all this snowball, change into the backline. He just won't die. Gets another W off. Finally getting stunned up. May full, but already the Corki is dead, and the damage is done. Congratulations. You've neutered the cat. But what about the rest of the team comp? They're a little angry about their house bet being put down. They'll try and get some more damage down as Zawandi needs to back away. Angel can look to hop on forwards, looking like an angel of death in this game, a reaper of sorts as Iwandi flashes over the wall, and Santa Braum is looking like he's put on his own naughty list.
Oh, and OMG, they found themselves a bit of wanting for cat scratch fever. Tianjin's Rengar won't be present at the Nexus falling, but you have to believe he was the cause of it. It's his first game for OMG. He didn't have the best start in LPL on Invictus Gaming, but he is starting off strong here with OMG in their first game.
Not a bad Nexus call, mate.
That
was pretty clean.
Thanks every so often. OMG, walk away 1-0, and yeah, gotta feel that RNG just got sideswiped there. We were wondering what was going to happen between both of these rosters in regards to big roster changes. It's really hard to predict what's going to come through. The fact that OMG change out multiple people